Hello, Steve and I were talking about looking at prayer resources and struggling with the whole business of finding time to pray, learning to pray, how we actually do pray, the discipline of prayer. And I know that he's already shared with you his idea about using a rosary or a necklace with pearls on or a beaded bracelet to help hold each person in prayer as you work your way around as a way of focusing on prayer. I want to talk to you today about something that's very ancient and probably dates back to monastic times, where we use the Bible as a prompt for our prayer life. Now, just because it was used by old monks a long time ago, it's still a vibrant and exciting way of looking at prayer, and lots of people have rediscovered it. So the process has got a formal name. It's called the Lectio Divina. But what that actually means is sacred reading of the Bible. And it works in a very simple way. There are four key questions that we do. So we begin by finding a bit of space, a bit of quiet, a bit of time, and selecting a passage that we want to study. And then asking the first question is, what does this text say? Simple, straightforward. What's it about? What's the story? What's going on in the passage? And then the second question that we ask ourselves is, okay, given that that's what's going on, what does it say to me now? What is it that's important in my life that this passage says to me? And we'll demonstrate that by actually doing it together in a minute. The third one is, as a result of that, what do I want to say to God? So this is the bit that takes us into prayer. Prayer is basically a conversation between me and God and listening to what God's saying to me. Prayer should always be a two-way thing. So this is about what do I want to say to God about what I've just seen in the scripture? And then the fourth bit, and I think this is the really exciting and equally the important bit, is what difference will all this make to my life? What do I need to do differently? Because I believe that prayer isn't just a sake of prayer for the sake of it. It's not just about standing on street corners and using big words. You remember that Jesus condemned the Pharisees for that. This is about what difference does it make as a result of my prayer life? What am I going to do differently? How am I going to act differently? What does God actually call me to do as a result of this conversation? So to try and explain how it all works, I thought we could just look together at a really familiar passage, and one that seems appropriate for the times that we're in at the moment, and that's Jesus calming the storm. So it's in Luke's Gospel, chapter 8, verses 22 to 25. So that's the bit that we say, what does the text say? What's this story about? What's going on in the passage? So one day he got into a boat with his disciples and he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side of the lake." So they put out. And while they were sailing, he fell asleep. A gale swept down on the lake and the boat was filling with water and they were in danger. And they went to him and woke him up shouting, "Master, Master, we're perishing." And he woke up and rebuked the wind and the raging waves, and they ceased, and there was calm. And he said to them, "Where is your faith?" And they were afraid and amazed and said to one another, "Who then is this that commands even the winds and the waters, and they obey him?" So that's the biblical passage. That's the word that's written in our scriptures in Luke chapter 8, 22 to 25. So that's the first bit, the first stage. What does the text say? The second stage is, what does it say to me and what impact does it have on my life? And I suppose at the moment it's very easy for us to feel as though our boat is filling up with water. On an international stage, we're all in this boat, in this storm on the sea, and it can appear maybe that God is asleep or that he's just not there taking notice. There's all this stuff going along, and where is God in all of this? And it's really easy to say to ourselves, Master, we're perishing. Don't you care? So maybe there's some of that is saying to me. And then, of course, in the passage, Jesus rebukes the disciples and says, where's your faith? So maybe that's something that God needs to say to me. So in our third stage, when we move into prayer, it's what do I want to say to God about this? And I suppose I want to say, I'm sorry that I'm living in a world where it appears as though God is asleep in all this, that you are not present. And I guess that I want to say sorry for not playing my part as a sailor in that ship, and for doubting that you're not there, doubting that you're not taking any notice, doubting that you might stand by and let us all drown, because that was never ever your intentions. And when I read there Jesus saying to the disciples, where is your faith? Then I'm convicted too. And where is my faith in all of this, and what will come out of it? And reminding myself that you are the creator, and that even the wind and the waves obey you. And I'm sure that even viruses and other things obey you. So that leads me on to the fourth question. What difference does it make in my life? How do I then see the world, see what's going on, understand COVID-19 in the light of this passage and what God's saying? And maybe some of that is, if God is creator, and if we do believe that he's got everything in control and that he can control the winds and the waves and even the viruses, then there's something about what we as a world need to put right, need to do. And that raises all sorts of questions about how I can make my little corner of the world, albeit in this house at the moment, in number 3, how I can make this a better place, about looking at the resources that we've got, making the most, reaching out and trying to be a person of love and care and concern to people, and challenging the storms that are going on around us. And so perhaps that's something that I should think about taking into action. So that's how it works, this old Lectio Divina thing. Divine reading split up into 4 or 5 questions. So what's the reading about? Think about it then, meditate on it, take a few times to read it again and say, but what's it actually saying to me now in 2020 in this part of the world? Thirdly, then, to just have a chat with God about where you're at with it all and what's going on for you, and use that passage as a springboard into your prayers. Then think about that and how that leads on to action through spending some time with God and contemplating on what he's saying. How does that lead you on to action? Might work for some, it might not work for others. If it works for you, God bless and good luck. And if it doesn't, then I'm sure one of the other things that we come up with in the next couple of weeks might work. Take care, have a go at it, see how you go on, and God bless you in what you're doing. Bye for now.